Go inside the Crimson Tide with your hosts Rodney Orr and Gary Harris, keeping you informed on everything Alabama. And now, Tider Insider TV.
One of the top offensive linemen in the 2017 class committed to Alabama today in a video posted on Bleacher Report. Jedrick Wills is a 6'5", 316-pound athletic guy that can play guard or tackle from Lexington, Kentucky. He chose the Tide over Kentucky, Michigan, Notre Dame, and Tennessee. And with that, we say good evening, everybody, and welcome in to Tider Insider TV, presented each and every week by Buffalo Rock, alongside Rodney Orr from TiderInsider.com. I'm Gary Harris, and no, we didn't coordinate the shirts. Just worked out this way. But we did coordinate having Pepsi Max on the set. Max taste, 0 calories, 0 sugar. You can't beat it. Remember to pick up some Pepsi products the next time you're at your local grocery store. And let's get right into this latest commitment, Rodney. The 5th 2017 O-line commitment, ranked as a 4-star or so. How good is this offensive line class shaping up to be with the latest commitment of Jedrick Wills?
Well, again, you know, you talk about Jedrick Wills. He's one of the top offensive linemen in the country. You have Alex Leatherwood out of Pensacola, who's another, maybe the best offensive lineman in the country. Kendall Randolph's another outstanding offensive lineman in the state of Alabama from Madison, Bob Jones. Right now, you have Elliott Baker, the #1 junior college offensive tackle, committed out of City College of San Francisco. So it's a fantastic class. I'm not sure they're done either, Gary, as they have a couple of more guys that they're looking at really closely. I think they have a good chance to get that are rated extremely high.
Yeah, and, you know, the beat goes on. I mean, here's a guy in the state of Kentucky. The University of Kentucky had made him a priority, the home state school. We mentioned some of the other schools involved, but the lure of playing for Alabama is very strong.
It really is, Gary. I think, you know, when he came here, made a visit earlier, that he was just really kind of blown away with what they have to offer here at Alabama. You know, how they've produced offensive linemen, how they develop offensive linemen here. And, you know, here's a guy, like you mentioned in the opening, he is a great player in terms of versatility. Yeah. And, he may end up an interior player, but he certainly has been a guy that's been productive as an offensive tackle on the high school level.
Yeah, you saw his size and athleticism in that video. All right, let's move on. Until Saturday, the college football playoff top 4 appeared set. 4 undefeated teams from Power 5 conferences were cruising to the playoffs until the chaos of this past weekend. Numbers 2, 3, and 4 all lost. Alabama is now the only Power 5 undefeated team after Clemson fell to Pitt. Michigan lost to Iowa, and Washington went down to USC. The college football playoff rankings don't come out for another couple of hours, but the Crimson Tide players took notice of Saturday's upsets.
It shows you that, you know, any given Saturday you can be beat if you don't do what you got to do. So, I mean, it's a great testament, you know, just to show that you got to come out and play football every Saturday, because, I mean, it's a lot of great teams out there.
It's definitely a reminder for, you know, just kind of learn from everybody else's lessons, and, you know, you can't take it advantage of a situation, and, you know, you have to bring it each week, and, you know, no matter who's against you.
But while the top 4 crumbled, Alabama just kept chugging along, taking down Mississippi State 51-3. Jalen Hurts became the first player in Crimson Tide football history, and that's saying something, to throw for 300 yards and run for 100 in the same game. After the win, Coach Saban said he liked what he saw from his true freshman quarterback.
One of the things that we wanted to do this week is, you know, we had a good plan, and we wanted to focus more on better preparation and maybe some extra meeting time, so he felt more confident in his understanding of what the expectation of what he needed to do was, and I think that paid off, and hopefully, you know, we'll be able to continue to do that and continue to improve from that standpoint.
And Rodney, let me ask you, did Jalen Hurts turn a corner in the win over Mississippi State in regards to the passing game?
Well, I don't know if he turned the corner, but I would say he took a step, Gary. I think anytime you have an opportunity to throw the ball 37, 38 times and you complete 27, 28 of those for 347 yards, 4 touchdowns, that's a confidence builder. I know that people say, well, their numbers are a little bit inflated some because of the tap pass he had for 69 yards to Ardarius Stewart, whatever. He still made some nice throws. He made some nice throws downfield. And guess what? I think the best throw he might have made was the throw that was incomplete to O.J. Howard, because, Gary, that was within that much of being a really big pass, and I thought it was an outstanding throw. And he also had another 100-yard game rushing. So, you know, again, I do believe that Jalen Hurts gained some confidence from what he did last Saturday.
And I tell you what, if he gets any more confident, look out, because I tell you, the way he carries himself with that confidence already, this passing game gets going, tell you what, Alabama, certainly looking like the favorite for the national championship. Well, next up for the Crimson Tide is FCS opponent Chattanooga from the Southern Conference. The Mocs are one of the better teams in FCS, coming into the game at 8-2 overall. Now, Chattanooga has outscored its opponents by nearly 20 points per game this season, but Alabama, of course, obviously is a different level of opponent for the Mocs. And according to Chattanooga head coach Russ Huseman, it all starts up front for the Tide.
We can't drop back and expect to block their 4 guys with our 5 guys. It just, nobody's done it. So it's not like little old Chattanooga scared to death. Ain't nobody blocked those dudes with 5 guys on 4.
I like that. Nobody blocked them. So tell you what, though, they'll come up, they'll show up, they'll play hard. We'll have our predictions later on. Still to come on Tider Insider Television, Alabama's rematch with Dayton in basketball was a lot closer this year. We'll have the highlights from Coleman Coliseum as the Tide play host to the Flyers. Plus, the future looks bright on the hard court. More on Avery Johnson's historic recruiting class. That's coming up. Plus, your phone calls, emails, and tweets, 205-348-WVUA, 348-9882. The number is always. You can email us at TITV@WVUA23.com, or you can reach us on Twitter using the hashtag TITV. We'll be right back with more of the show that takes you inside the Crimson Tide. The award-winning Tider Insider TV will return after this break. Bama basketball playing this afternoon as part of that ESPN tip-off marathon, and the Tide lost to the Dayton Flyers 77-72, but it was a much different game than last year when they got blown out up in Ohio. Bama led by 5 at halftime, but Dayton outscored the Tide by 10 in the second half en route to the 5-point victory. Bama stays home for its next game Friday night against Ball State. Hopefully they'll get right back on the winning track. The Tide now 1-1 on the season. Well, this team is still a work in progress, but there will be big additions coming in next year. Welcome back to Tider Insider TV. 2 of those big additions were added on Friday. A historic signing period for Alabama, ranked among the top 5 in the nation. 5-star recruits Colin Sexton and John Petty were joined in the class by Herb Jones, Alex Reese, and Galen Smith, all highly recruited. Petty is a guard out of Huntsville, May Clemens High School, one of the top players in the state, probably the top player in the state, and he says he's excited to be staying home and playing for the home state Crimson Tide.
It means a lot. For me, it means personally because it's my state, it's my home city. Just to be able to do big things for them and put them on the map.
A lot of our current players that are going to be returning next year, that's going to blend with this recruiting class, then we think we're going to have something special. But it's a process. It's a process.
You hear Coach Saban say that all the time, and it's true. It is a process. And, of course, this year's team won't be helped by that signing class. But in terms of perception and in terms of the reality next year when they all get here, Rodney, this was something special.
It really was. You know, I remember back in the 70s when C.M. Newton was here and recruiting all those players in the state of Alabama. You have to get the best players in the state. And I think when you get John Petty, you know, obviously maybe one of the best players, maybe the best player in the last 15 years to come out of the state. Then you get a guy locally like Herb Jones down at Melville, Hill County. You have to keep those guys, and I think this is the next step in what he was talking about, the process.
Yeah.
You know, he's finally gotten settled in, and he had an opportunity to get a year under their belt and really put forth a great effort in terms of recruiting, and you see the results.
In essence, it's a Fab Five. Galen Smith, the center, 6'10", 230 from Clinton, Mississippi. Alex Reese, the power forward, 6'9", 225 from Pelham. Herb Jones and John Petty both on the wing. Petty 6'7", or Petty 6'5", Jones about 6'7", and then Sexton, the dynamic point guard at 6'2". So really, you got to start at 5 right there if you want it.
Yeah, it's a good-looking class, Gary. And, you know, a lot of people that have followed Alabama basketball recruiting for a long time and think that, you know, this may be one of the top 2 or 3 classes in school history. We remember the Bobby Lee Hurt, Enos Watley, Mark Farmer, Rex Jones class back in the early 80s. It was an outstanding class, ranked among the top 5, and this class may be deeper than that one.
Yeah, and been some other good ones too, but this certainly on paper looks like one of the best. We'll see when they get here if they can continue this rise for Alabama men's basketball. Well, coming up next, we'll look at the state of the women's basketball program. Plus, we'll be welcoming your phone calls, emails, and tweets. Again, the phone number is 205-348-9882. You can email us at the address on your screen, or you can send us a question on Twitter using the hashtag TITV. We'll be right back with more Tider Insider TV right after this timeout. Alabama outscored Mississippi Valley State 49-21 in the first half last night, and the Crimson Tide women's basketball team never looked back. Freshman Jordan Lewis led all scores with 21, and the Tide took down the Delta Devilettes from Itta Bena, Mississippi, 93-44. Alabama will host Lipscomb at Coleman Coliseum on Thursday evening. The Tide is 2-0. All right, let's get to the phones. Rodney, you ready?
Sure.
First up is David over in Anniston. David, welcome into the program. How are you?
I'm doing great, guys. How are you tonight?
Doing very well.
Listen, I'm really proud of our team, and I think it was great what Hurts did Saturday. But I wanted to mention about Anthony Averett. I was really impressed with how he played Saturday. He made a couple of good plays in the secondary. I wanted to ask you and Rodney about the running back Gore. I've not heard much about him or seen him. I wanted to see what your thoughts were on it, and I think this week's a no-brainer. And I also think, as you already mentioned in the show, we've seen some teams that really hadn't played that good a schedule get exposed. And I'm really excited about our team. Thanks for taking my call. Roll Tide.
Thanks, David. First on Anthony Averett. He's playing very well in the corner. Against Mississippi State, I thought he probably had his best game.
Yeah. He's been unsung. Really he hasn't gotten some of the hype that maybe some of the other guys has, but Anthony Averett's done a fantastic job. He's a guy that came here as an outstanding track guy and an all-around athlete out of high school in the state of New Jersey. And, Gary, you really have to like a guy like him because he's waited his time. He's a redshirt junior. This is really his opportunity. He never complained. Mm-hmm. And, a lot of times guys come in, they expect immediate playing time. They get disgruntled, but he hung in there.
And as far as Derek Gore, he's a walk-on running back. But, with some of the injuries, he's right there. And, I think he's a guy that they feel comfortable calling on if they need to.
Well, you need guys like Derek Gore, certainly walking on that have talent, have ability, can lend some depth if needed. And, I think he's done that. And certainly I think he's valuable in that regard.
All right, let's stay here in Tuscaloosa and talk to Sue. Welcome in, Sue. How are you?
How are y'all this evening?
Very well.
All right. I have two questions.
Okay.
The first question is the NFL looking at Jalen Hurts, Hootie Jones, and possibly Darius Stewart? And my second question is
Darius Cowan and Najee Harris coming to Alabama in 2017 as commitments?
Who now?
Darius Cowan and Najee Harris.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, Darius Cowan and Najee Harris are committed to Alabama for the class of 2017. As far as Hurts, he's only a freshman, but he's going to be an NFL prospect. Hootie Jones and Darius Stewart, they're going to be looked at too. If you play football at Alabama and you play pretty well, you're going to get looked at by the NFL.
That was my answer. That was my answer. If you play football at Alabama, you're on scholarship, you're signed by Nick Saban, you're going to be looked at by the NFL.
Yeah, so all those guys will get a look, no doubt about it. Thanks for the phone call. Let's go to West Block and talk to Trey. Trey, what's going on, man?
Hey, what's up, fellas?
Hey, buddy.
I've consulted my crystal ball, and Alabama is going to be number one. I really feel like that. All joking aside, that's a certainty. But what a weekend. I think that floored everybody. Almost unprecedented because it has happened before, I think, in 85.
Yep.
But, 3 of the top 4 teams falling like that. And it just enriched the debate. I think, it's already you could have a web of discussion about the merits of this team versus this team and what about this versus that. But now I think it's just so much better. And, it's just like Louisville holding the head-to-head. Clemson having the head-to-head advantage over Louisville. But, the way I look at it, you can't discount the strength of loss.
I agree with you, Trey. It is going to be wild tonight because somebody that lost this past weekend, either Michigan or Clemson, if not both, are still going to be in that top 4. And that is going to really stir up some controversy. You lose on Saturday, you're still in the top 4. One of those teams will be in there, I'm pretty sure, if not both of them. Louisville's right there knocking on the door. Ohio State's probably going to be in at number 2 this week. But, it comes out here in a little bit. And, it is crazy. But the great thing about Alabama being undefeated, where they're at, they just got to keep winning.
Yeah. And, I think those teams that lost, they caught a break because they all lost.
Yeah, that's right. And it is only the second time. 1985, the 2, 3, and 4 teams all lost on the same Saturday. You're right, Trey. It was crazy. All right, an email to get to right now from James in Tuscaloosa. I expect to see another Saban rule passed about using former players in practice. How many did Coach Bryant have passed as far as I think he's meaning in terms of rules passed because of what he did. Well, Bryant was an innovator as well, and tackle eligible was the first to go. But as far as the former players coming back to what, it stirred up some controversy. Urban Meyer had a funny answer today. He said he didn't know. He laughed about it. But Brian Kelly had some negative comments. But right now it is legal. Alabama gets it cleared before they bring those guys in. And if it helps your football team and it's legal, Nick Saban's going to do it.
Well, there's absolutely nothing wrong with it because it is legal. And, as far as Coach Bryant, some supposedly he used to put put football players on swimming scholarships to allow them to not count against the football scholarship. So there were a lot of rules passed really directed at Coach Bryant.
Yeah, when you're successful and you're innovative, everybody's trying to catch up, and they're looking for ways to slow you down. So it happens. Still to come, a lot of Crimson Tide football players are being considered for national awards, but one is curiously left off the semifinalist list. We'll have details on that and more, your phone calls, emails, and tweets. Again, the information right there on your screen. We'll be back with more right after this. Alabama punter J.K. Scott ranks at the top, or nearly at the top of every punting category in FBS, and yet Scott was left off the Ray Guy semifinalist list of the top 10 punters in the country. It's hard to believe. In fact, Scott is having a better statistical season this year than when he was a Ray Guy finalist in his freshman year at 2014. Go figure on that one. You got any
Hard
idea
to figure.
Why?
I can't figure it out.
Odd. All right, let's go back to the phone lines and talk to Bill over in Birmingham. Bill, what's up, man?
Hey, good afternoon, guys.
Hey, Bill.
Hey, listen, who would be a possible replacement next year for Jonathan Allen, either that's on the team now or that's a possible recruit? And in terms of recruits, I know you can't be sort of definitive, but I mean, in terms of possible recruits, not just for that position, but overall, who would you say would be maybe the top potential recruit that we're looking at for next season?
All right, first on the defensive line, I mean, it's going to be hard to replace that kind of production. I would say right off the top of my head, Deshaun Hand is a guy. He's kind of been getting more and more playing time. He's came along nicely, and I expect next year for him to really have a big year.
You know, and it may not be that one guy can do it. Obviously, with Jonathan Allen, as good as he is, maybe the best defensive lineman in school history, certainly ranks among the top guys. It may be a group of guys, and, you know, some of those guys are going to be new. Raekwon Davis is a young freshman. Gary mentioned Deshaun Hand. Certainly he's the guy that comes to mind first, but Raekwon Davis, a guy that played against Mississippi State. Quentin Williams is a guy that they redshirted, Gary, that I think next year is going to really be a guy that could contribute significantly. And, you know, as far as recruits go, listen, just about everybody they're recruiting is at the top of everybody's board. So I really couldn't say who the number one player is. Obviously, if you look at some of these ratings, Najee Harris, the running back out of Antioch, California, is the number one player in the country. But some of the other ratings, for example, ESPN has Trey Smith, who is an offensive lineman that's really considering Alabama very highly out of Jackson, Tennessee. They have him the number one player in the country. You know, there's just so many. Alex Leatherwood's another one. Some people think he might be the best player in the country. So, again, I just think that when you look at Alabama's class right now, it's really hard to say who is the best.
All right. Thanks for the phone call, Bill. Let's stay here in Tuscaloosa and talk to Mary. Mary, how are you?
I'm doing fine.
Good.
Hey, my question is, with Jalen Hurts having the rankings he's having, the total yards passing, the touchdowns, the rushes, the doing it all, the quarterback, running back, and all that he's doing, is it a possibility that the NFL could possibly draft him with him being a freshman in college, or will he have to wait until closer to time?
Mary, he's got to wait like everybody else. You got to have 3 years in college. Whether you're a redshirt sophomore, in his case, he will not be draft eligible until after his junior season. So he's got 2 more years at Alabama to play football before he's draft eligible. You're no doubt right when you say the NFL is going to like Jalen Hurts, but he has to wait. He's got to play 2 more years.
I haven't heard that question since 1980.
All right, we got a tweet to get to off of Twitter. Yeah, that's right.
Herschel Walker.
And he went to the USFL. DJ Corrington wants to know, how do you evaluate the continued development of Hootie Jones and Anthony Averett? We talked about Averett, and Hootie Jones is coming along actually too.
He really is, Gary. You know, there's a lot of people that wondered, you know, what Hootie's exact role would be, and, you know, he's really picked it up this year. He's done a nice job. He continues to develop and play in many of the Alabama defensive packages at the safety spot. Made a really nice play that might have saved a touchdown last week against Mississippi State when he came over and almost intercepted the ball in the end zone. So, and I think Hootie's doing a tremendous job there. You see him on that kickoff return against Arkansas where he stripped the ball, and really good to see Hootie Jones out of Monroe Neville High School there in Louisiana have a really significant impact this year.
I agree with you. All right, thanks for the phone calls and the emails and the tweets. Still to come. Rodney and I will make our game picks, and, you know, I kid with you sometimes, but I don't think anybody's in doubt of who we're going to pick. Score may be the only question. Stay tuned to Tider Insider TV. We'll be right back after this time. I tell you, it's chilly outside. Really, fall finally getting here, and actually had a few sprinkles of rain this morning, but not for long. We'll be back after this. Welcome back to TITV, brought to you by Buffalo Rock, bottlers of fine Pepsi products. It's prediction time. Rodney, Alabama versus Chattanooga, which is a very good FCS team. They're 8-2. They play in the Southern Conference, which is very competitive. They're a good team at their level, but obviously they're biting off a whole another level of football on Saturday night at Bryant-Denny Stadium.
They really are. But this is an opportunity for Alabama. It's an opportunity to kind of keep things rolling in the right direction. You know, Alabama has a lot of young players. You look at the offensive side. Jonah Williams, true freshman right tackle. Joshua Jacobs, a true freshman running back. Miller Forrestall, a true freshman H-back. All of those guys playing a significant role this year. I think this is an opportunity for them to continue to gain reps. You look at Jalen Hurts has an opportunity to continue to develop that with the wide receivers, the cohesiveness there that they need. You look on the defensive side, this is an opportunity for some of the young players to continue to get reps and develop as they move forward. So I think it's an important game from an opportunity standpoint, Gary. But clearly, Alabama's 45-3 should dominate the game.
All right. I'm right there with you. I mean, to me, the question is, how long does Saban want to play the main guys before he gets the backup in? I mean, it's easy to say, well, it should be 60-0, but I don't think it will be. I think as you said, Rodney, the desire of the coaching staff here will be to get better, not to get anybody hurt, to look at some different guys, to look at some different combinations, but also to play well and sharp. And I think Alabama will. I like it big, too. I got it 48-6, so we both have it by 42 points. Almost the same. Tide should roll on Saturday night at Bryant-Denny. Well, our beautiful shirts provided, as always, by the Locker Room. We're matching up tonight. We didn't plan it that way, but I tell you what, if you want to go to the home of the original Elephant Wear, go downtown to the Locker Room or shop them online as well at locker-room.biz. They are fabulous. And speaking of fabulous, we're headed to Buddy's Rib and Steak tonight in Northport for dinner, whether it's steaks, ribs, chicken. Buddy's has got it all. Rodney and I and the crew will be down there in about 15 minutes or so come on out and have some dinner with us tonight at Buddy's in Northport. If you missed the show, you can catch a replay tonight at 10:30 or anytime on WVUA23.com. For Rodney Orr, I'm Gary Harris. Good night, everyone.